So hello everybody and welcome to Starlight Magic Month. My name, for those of you that don't know me, is Katy. I'm from Starlight Meditation, and Magic Month is a forecast show that gives you all sorts of guidance and life tools and energy practices and insights into the month ahead so that you can align with the month ahead. I am so excited to say that we have the amazing chakra alchemist Tash Mitch joining us for this show. She is absolutely amazing. I've been going to her Wednesday night sessions and they are just blowing my mind every time. I'm going to be talking more about her amazing work. I'm so excited to have you on the show, Tash, because
I'm so excited to be here. Our conversations are fabulous. So I'm really looking forward to this.
We have been Tash runs. I'm going to promote this now, just for anybody that's invited. The Brighton people and London people listening live. But Tash runs these. She does loads of things, and we will talk more about her work. But she does this amazing Wednesday night for heart-centered business, and I was just like, I need to go to that at the end of August, and like, it's just the most beautiful feminine way of tuning into your path and tuning in to, I would say, almost the problems that you're having in your business. You know, walking your path is not easy, and it's especially not easy for your 3D brain and preconditioned. And so I come every Wednesday with a list of problems, and they just get solved by this amazing group of people, and it's different every time. And it's just so beautiful, isn't it? Like, the energy is just so 5D and flowing, and everybody's connecting, and it's a really, if you have a heart-based business or want to have a heart-based business, you need to get to Tash's on a Wednesday night.
It is quite amazing, actually. It's basically that whole sort of sense of you don't have to do it alone, and you don't have to be in isolation all the time through those kind of challenging points, and how easy it is sometimes when you just get centered, that everything falls into place. So yeah, absolutely.
And just being able to, I think what I love about it as well is you know, just being able to get different people's advice on things that and they're speaking from their heart, you know, there's a real tribal feeling, and being able to just go to a circle of people and go, okay, so this is the thing I'm struggling with, or this is the thing I want to expand on this month. And you don't just get one person's advice, you get the group's advice, and then their guides, and suddenly you're getting advice from all over the cosmos. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I loved what you said about the Art of Alchemy project. Tell me about that, Tash. Tell me about this project. It sounds so amazing.
Well, I am an alchemist through and through, and in that sense, it's basically always, like we were just speaking about, always finding where the boundaries are and pushing them and expanding them, and doing that on a conscious, aware level. Is basically my life's work, and I feel like it's everyone's life's work to a large degree, but certainly it's where I've actually sunk my roots, and doing it for myself, and then also taking other people through the process of doing that. But a lot of times when we talk about alchemy, it can sound really esoteric and sometimes a little bit unrelatable. Okay, so alchemy, the magic of life, how does it relate to the nuts and the bolts of everyday walk? And this is a part that really, really drives me, is what I call the practicality of magic, the practicality of bringing that sort of divine essence and infusing it into your day-to-day walk. When you're buying your groceries, when you're just at your desk, when you're out with your friends, how do you actually make your entire life infused with that divinity and that flow? And that to me is alchemy in motion. I mean, alchemy is in its essence the changing of base metal to gold. It's the changing of, is that sort of exactly what we were talking about, right? that sort of sense of releasing what's not serving to have the gold within become the thing that shines out into the world through us, and that's definitely where my work is, basically.
Oh, it sounds amazing. And what would you say? So I love that you're really focused on the day-to-day, because I really resonate with that. Like I'm actually finding myself getting frustrated, and no offense to all of the like amazing channels out there and stuff like that, but like I'm really finding myself at the moment not very interested in reading about what star beings from another nation are saying, even though I love channeling them myself, because I'm just like, now that it feels like there's too much collective focus on other realms.
Yes.
And actually, like, the most useful thing we can do is work out how to ascend our physical lives.
Well, the biggest thing is a physical body, isn't it? Like, so many, including myself, I mean, I've been detached from my own physical body to the point that you can live in this conscious area up here, and then everything that goes on, like up until like down to your feet, there's no consciousness, And when I say physical consciousness, I mean like basically sitting with your feet on. It's as simple as that, right? Sitting with your feet on the ground or on the floor, and actually having conscious awareness to the sensation of the bottom of the feet and what is that doing. Having conscious awareness to what your calves and your thighs are doing. Like, are you about to bolt and move? Or are you sunk in and rooted and stabilized where you are? Are you kind of like, is your thought taking you to the point where you can't relax where you are? And this is where like getting into the physical body for me is really, really important. So I feel like it's good that people are channeling, and there's messages, and some of these messages are incredibly profound.
They are.
But ultimately, when we can, for me, it's about how does that relate to the physical, everyday life of being in a human suit.
I wanted to say I really was not. I'm not. I am a channel for the star beings. Like, I am not against it. I just found myself feeling like a bit like I'm not reading as much about it and stuff, because I feel like for me, I've got to look at my own physical life more and my physicality more, and I think, like Neil was saying, it's the day-to-day is where the real magic is, and it's really so easy to get lost in the magic of other realms and other dimensions and up there, but like how amazing, like our physical bodies and our physical realities are so amazing.
Yes. And it's replicated as well. One of the things that happened with me in the journey, the chakra alchemy journey, was I became very aware of what I call the two triangles. The triangle that points upwards, that's that sort of sense of connecting to the universe, connecting to divinity, connecting to the collective, and then the triangle that points downwards, connecting to the earth, connecting to our physical body and our physical experience and the nuts and bolts of everyday life. And at one point I was really versed with the upper triangle, so really versed and really excited about, the divine connection and, connecting to the angels and the guides and and I absolutely love that, and that's still a lot of guidance, but it was where all my focus was going. And at some point, and it was really brilliant, I had to go through that journey because there was a sense of a purifying and a unifying that happened with the focus on the upward triangle. But then all of a sudden it just flipped and then the focus became on the downward triangle. It became about, okay, so take all of this now and apply it, because everything that you are focusing on in the upper triangle is replicated in the lower triangle. Universe and infinity is replicated in matter. So how do you give the same level of respect to matter that you're giving to this universal? And that journey for me has been absolutely beautiful, because you start to see divinity in all things, basically.
I so resonate with that. I think, you know, for me, I had a very long part, and maybe it's a part of a lot of people's ascension path to be like, I've got to go up, I've got to go up, I've got to go up. And then suddenly it flipped, and it was like, no, you've got to work with what's here, you know? And I love what you say about the divinity in matter, and actually I think there's a film that's just come out that me and Kath saw called Mother, and I don't want to give the context away, but it's very much about the human what human consciousness has been missing in its pursuit of spirituality, which is really, in a lot of ways, the divine feminine, you know. And I'm not saying that there isn't divine feminine in the divine, because there is.
Yeah. But
by only looking up at the divine, we miss the divine feminine, you know, of the earth. And I think that's why there's this kind of divine feminine revolution happening with the womb, and loads of people doing womb work and understanding what the feminine is as the space holder, or as the creative feminine energy that is expressed through the planet. Do you know what I mean?
You know, the thing for me is kind of like not to have judgment on any of it. So like when I look at my journey, there's a humor. There's a humor because I saw myself, do you know what I mean, over that period of like, it's like, you know, anything that was remotely expansive, I was looking up, you know, exactly like you're saying, and looking outside of myself. That's the biggest part, like looking outside of myself. And we are taught that way, you know, like basically in our society, when you look at religious constructs, it's not taught that the divine is inside, deeply planted, waiting for attention. It's taught that basically you need to like let go of this physical and look upwards to the universal. And also it's taught that basically the physical doesn't matter. It's all about the universal. And when we start to realize that we are drops of consciousness, like, you've probably heard me say this so many times, but it's still always fascinating to me that we are made up of 60 trillion cells. I mean, 60 trillion cells. Each of those cells a drop of consciousness. Each of those cells a drop of divinity that makes up this universe that is us. How can you disregard that? Do you know what I mean? How can you disregard how like potently we are made and how amazingly we are made? And that by continuously looking outside of ourselves, we miss the trick of the gift that we've been given of being here in this body, in this universe. Do you know what I mean? That you call Katy and I call Tash, and everybody calls who they are, you know? And that was what the flipping was for me, is that appreciation of this universe.
I so resonate with that. And actually the nurturing of it, you know.
Yes.
That is ascension, is us nurturing our universe, whether the community that our reaches is big or small. It's about us helping to nurture our community and our mini universe, and that is how ascension will happen all over the world, you know. And it, you know, I agree that the spiritual practices and everything like that, they are so important, but not at the expense of you looking after. Like, if you don't pick up litter, then it doesn't matter how much you meditate, you know. Like, all of these things have to align. It's not just about cleaning up your chakras, it's about cleaning up the physical reality as well. And as we align with that, the more we align with that, the more we ascend. And then there's the whole concept of alchemy, which my guides have been channeling a lot about alchemy this last year, and they're just like, Gaia's ascension, Gaia is already a temple of alchemy. Everything on the planet is alchemical. Your body is alchemical. You know, everything is alchemical on this planet. And her ascension is to become a fifth dimensional temple of alchemy. And if we do not engage with alchemy and the way that the planet does things, we are never going to fully ascend. We can't approach it just from a soul way or a higher self way. We have to approach it from a body way. And that's where the laws of alchemy get really, really interesting for self-transformation and for life transformation, because they are the key, I believe, to this whole ascension process.
Yes.
We embrace, do it the way the earth is doing it, in a physical body, not the way your soul did it necessarily in another time or another place, but to become a master of alchemy, of your own life, and to turn all of the heavy metal into gold. In your consciousness, turn your subconsciousness into consciousness, your worry consciousness into heart consciousness. You know, it's all alchemy. And that's, I think, what is so exciting, really, is that it's actually all of the laws are there. They're written in the earth, they're written in nature. We see them all the time. We just have to engage with them and learn to apply them to our own lives and manifested realities, essentially.
And that's the power of alchemy, when you realize that actually the alchemical laws are written into your own DNA. So you don't actually have to look any further, because whatever it is that you communicate and interact with internally just ends up replicating itself externally for you. So turning that lens inward, you know, that's where it is for me. And it took a while for me to get that, you know, it took a while for me to get the beauty of being in a physical body with all its challenges. Because as you rightly said, you know, right at the beginning, it's not always, you know, everyday Sunday. Do you know what I mean? It's not always kind of like, you know, la-di-da. I mean, like, there are times when it can actually get, like, quite challenging. And I've spoken to a lot of people that have gone to the point where, what am I doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, getting to the point of, this is just too hard. It's just too hard. And for me, personally speaking, that's where the alchemy is coming in, because when we get to the point of it's just too hard, we're getting to the point where we're butting up against our own boundaries, and they're asking for us to expand. You know, they're asking for us to open out. And the only way we do that is through truth and through acknowledgement and through being seen and being heard, which is why the work that you're doing and why the work that I'm doing, I feel there's such potency, especially for this time and space where the frequency is changing, where people are able to communicate. Because for me, the work that I do is offering people a witness for them to communicate with themselves, and offering them a mirror for them to see the subconscious. Do you know what I mean? See all of, like, behind here and up here, like, see the parts that physically through the frontal sort of cortex they aren't always able to see. And I feel for us to expand, for that expansion process to happen, these are the areas that actually really, the back of us particularly, needs just basically some acknowledgement and some viewing, so all of that could come forward and there's not so many blockages happening.
And what would you say to somebody that, you know, was maybe feeling like they didn't want to be here or felt like they'd reached that boundary point? Have you got any piece of advice that they can apply at home, or, you know?
The first thing is really, really simple, and it always sounds simple when I say it, but it's actually so masterful, is coming back to the breath. Because whenever things get really, really tight, and it's no matter, the reason why I say breath is that you can do that anytime, any place, anywhere. But whenever anything gets really tight, what we want is expansion, what we want is space. And when our mind is tight, when our physical bodies are tight, the only thing that allows for that unfurling is breath. And the reason why breath does that is that when we're tight, we're breathing from the upper lung. We're taking short breaths, and we've gone into panic mode, where basically the body is in fight or flight. And at that point, accessing the space of the mind can get really hard. And when we actually come back to the breath, come back to deepening the breath, breathing from the diaphragm, filling the lungs, there's a sense where the body, if you're breathing deeply, the body's saying that there's harmony. The nervous system is saying that there's harmony. You can't breathe deeply if there isn't a level of harmony, is what the body says, basically. And so as soon as we start breathing deeply, there's a sense of dropping in, there's a sense of expanding, and then we can actually start to access more in terms of what's in the mind, more in terms of what's in our field rather than what's in our sort of like narrow view. So that's the first thing that I would say. And then the other thing that I would say is that there's no reason for anybody to do anything in isolation these days. It's kind of, there's so many groups. I mean, some of them like completely free. There's so much stuff on the internet where you can come back and come home to yourself. And that's one of the things that I am doing as well, is offering free resources for that, for people to have access to things that will help them just come back to themselves and come home to themselves.
Yeah, I'm going to put that up now as Tash's free resources. There's so much good stuff, and it's free, so you're all crazy if you don't sign up for something that is free. And you won't be taken away from the webinar. It will open in another tab, so you can just click the link and then sign up. But I strongly recommend his stuff. Like, I loved your and this one I've got to share with everyone, because one of the Wednesday nights we did this Tash did this meditation, which was like, listen to the heartbeat of your mother, which is something I've done before, and then the heartbeat of the universe. But what she brought in was listen to the heartbeat of your path. And I've never listened to the heartbeat of my path before. And like, my path just went boom. Like, it was steady and it was big and it had this, and I was just like, this has changed so much stress I have around my path and starlight at the moment. And like, every time I'm feeling like panicked, I'm just like, okay, heartbeat of starlight. It's like boom, and I'm like, okay, hey, we got this. and like, it's such an amazing technique. Like, listen to the heartbeat of your path, even if you don't know what your path is. Just be like, what does the heartbeat sound like? And honestly, you will feel better, because no path is going to be like a panic attack. You know what I mean? Like, paths are soul things. They're going to drop you into your breath. And yeah, it was awesome. One of the many ways.
Your path is a heartbeat of Gaia, though, isn't it? I mean, basically, this is one of the things with the base chakra and connecting the feet to the earth with consciousness, and connecting to what I call the earth grid. It is Gaia communicating with you. Your path is Gaia's heartbeat, basically. It's like that one foot in front of the other. And so, yeah, absolutely. When you actually connect with that, and you particularly, because there's so much connection, when you connect with that and you connect with it from a Gaia level, because we could connect to our paths in all different ways, can't we? I mean, we can actually connect with panic stations in our path if we're that way inclined. Like, if we're in a place where we can't see where our next foot forward is, there is a possibility of connecting with panic. But if we actually connect with Gaia, then yeah, the path is just, it's there, it's solid, it's held, it's secure, and you're embraced in it,
And it's on the like, human time and Gaia time is so different. Humans, I was actually listening to a documentary today about how like we decided to kind of ignore the like, our clocks are not really doing the time of the sun because it was too irregular, and we thought it would be easier. And like we keep having to rewrite our calendars because we're just not on time. And I'm like, that's why we're all so time poor. It's really like making up time as opposed to going with the time of the earth.
Yeah.
And like Gaia does not rush things. Even the things that feel like they happen fast, like volcanoes and earthquakes, they take their time. You know, everything is on Gaia's time. And I think if you're feeling anxious and panicked, it's usually connected to time because humans are so time poor. And it's like, just come back to Gaia's time and to her seasons. And, you know, we don't have to do things on human time. We can and we should be doing things on earth time.
But you know the funny thing as well, because I've been having this conversation today about time and space and how time and space, when you collapse time and space, so I remember doing this meditation, it was a kind of like a technique almost, basically. And when you hear people sort of talk about it, it's the same sort of thing. That kind of thing of like, if you were having to get from A to B, and you were feeling like you were a bit late or you were running a bit late, and you looked at the distance from A to B, and you actually in your mind's eye saw it as a piece of paper almost that you folded, and so you half the time and you half the distance, you end up getting there on time without actually understanding how that would have been possible. Do you know what I mean? Like everything should have been late, but like you get there on time. And this is a part of like the alchemical aspect of time and space that sometimes we don't get taught because we get so caught up in the linear of, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 12, and you know what I mean, and the months and the days and that. But basically, in reality, when we actually take it from a 5D point of view, none of that, we need it because we need it in order to meet each other and to communicate, but ultimately it doesn't exist. And there are times when you can play around with the non-existence of it, basically.
And you know what? I did a thing where I made up with time as part of Lara's course. You know Lara.
Yeah.
I was like, I am so time poor. I need to make up with time. So I like spent ages being like, I'm sorry, time. I've been really horrible to you, and I've always accused you of all of these things. And then after like sitting in ceremony, and it's a really powerful thing to do, I was like, I'm really like honestly, and as I was saying sorry, I was like, oh my God, I really treated time badly. And then like at the end I was like, okay, time, tell me about yourself. And she was really coming to me from a feminine place, although she said there is masculine time, but she was like, you have not connected in any way to feminine time, Katy. So I'm coming to you. And she was like, time is elastic. She was like, I'm elastic. And she was like, money serves your dreams. Time doesn't serve your dreams. Time holds your dreams. It holds space for your dreams. Your dreams are inside time. Stop thinking that you're chasing me. You're inside me. And I'm cyclical. And I was like, right. So I'm just inside time, so I don't really need to worry about it. Like, you know, and she was like, time is ceremonial, especially feminine time. It marks the phases and stages of your dreams and the different steps of your dreams. But it's a like marker and a spiral and a ceremonial marker. But basically, you're always inside it. You know, you don't need to worry about it because you're always inside it. Like, as opposed to chasing it and feeling like you're trying to catch it. And yes, Neil, I agree with you. 13 moons, very interesting. I kind of think we should be living by 13 moons and not 12. I kind of do. Like, that's the thing. You can kind of choose to live by the human time, or you can start honouring the festivals and the ceremonies and the moons and start to live by the time of the earth. And actually everything gets easier, because when you start to live by the time of the earth, you start to honor the seasons more and feel them more and flow with them more, as opposed to fighting them. And so there's less friction in your life, you know. As it's getting darker for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we should be giving ourselves more permission to sleep a bit longer and to be a bit hibernating, and that's okay. Like, that's what the earth is doing. That's what everything is doing. Just because the human world isn't doing that doesn't mean if that's what you are instinctually feeling to do, you can't, you know? I think that's really, and that's also about becoming an alchemist, I think, you know, to be working with what is. And thank you, Bonnie, as well, for your letting your light shine. I think that's such a wonderful intention for this month. Let your light shine. And I am definitely going to check out Bonnie Lane Designs and see how you're letting your light shine. Because walking our path is letting our light shine. It's being seen and being witnessed.
So Katy, I absolutely adore your work. I adore everything that you're doing at the moment with Starlight Meditation, and how you are helping so many people to connect to the earth, to connect to themselves, to connect to the deep spirituality within. And you do it with such grace and such humor. And so, yeah, I just want to honor you and to thank you deeply for allowing me to come onto your show and to interact with you this way.
Thank you so much, because honestly, the work you're doing is so amazing, and you have this real ease with alchemy, which I don't think I've ever seen in anybody before, and it's such a beautiful way to hold space, because it's so goddess-like and calm and mothering, and like I said, the Wednesday nights at the moment are serving my path beyond everything and anything at the moment. I'm so grateful for them and your path, and all you're doing is just beautiful, and it's been an honor to have you on Magic. So, and I've put up your link again for anybody that wants to find out about all your courses and everything that you do, as well as your free courses.